How do you handle failure?
Joy, I am a Hall of Fame level failure. Like the things that I have failed at are generally bigger than most people would try. I don't think you can pursue anything of significance and not have the courage to fail.
I think a lot of us, it's common to see people wait for win than to get what they need instead of head down, let me work on what I'm gonna need for when win happens. If you're 5'6" and you don't have a 6'5" mentality, when you're 6'5", what's gonna happen? Paul Quinn, like what made you say yes to that?
Paul Quinn in those years was really struggling and it didn't have the best brand and the best reputation. I kept thinking, my people are amazing. Why do people treat their school as if it's not amazing? I just thought people deserved better. So when there was a chance to be president, I tried to get the job. First 4 years of me being president were brutally hard.
Yeah.
And we arrived at Paul Quinn, we had 550 students. Within 18 months, we were down to 150 students. Everything just felt as if it was broken. One of the world's great management consulting firms, said you all have 18 months before you're gonna close. I remember being at the downtown Y on the treadmill, just trying to clear my head. Somebody comes up to me and it's like, y'all are not gonna make it. I'd be in the grocery store just trying to buy some cereal and people would come up to me like, oh, looks like the school's gonna close. What are you gonna do? It is only failure if you stop moving.
If you stop moving.
Yeah. Like when I fail forward.
Fail forward.
And I just keep going.
All right, we got President Sorrell here with us. We're talking deposits. We're talking about sustaining. We're talking about sacrifice. And we had a pre-show just a minute ago that I hope we got some of that clipped up. I think you guys will like it. Tell me more about yourself. And I know we were just talking about Paul Quinn. Like, what made you say yes to that?
Yeah. I said yes to Paul Quinn. Well, first of all, let me just say how thrilled I am to be here.
Awesome. Yep.
Big fan of the things that you do, as you know. Have watched you build your program from Team Ferrari up. Just have a lot of admiration as you've expanded the brand and all of that.
Thank you.
I think it's fantastic. I got to Paul Quinn because when I moved to Texas, the people who made Texas home were Paul Quinn alums. I didn't know very much about Paul Quinn when I moved here. I grew up in Chicago, went to school, college in Ohio, law school and grad school in North Carolina. But I grew up in a home that had Jet Magazine and Ebony and Ebony Jr. And Jet Magazine, at the end of the magazine every week, had, whatever were like the sport, HBCUs ranked.
I remember those.
And so the only time I had ever come into contact with Paul Quinn growing up was they were ranked a couple times in the back of
the Jet Magazine.
And so I moved here and, when you move to a city and you're a basketball person, you look for runs.
Yep.
And so the downtown Y in Dallas used to have good runs on Saturday mornings where, people would play college basketball would go. So I was there and met some of my fraternity brothers who were Paul Quinn alums. And the people in my law pool were really, really nice. But I grew up in a family where we were rooted in the Black community, right? We owned a barbecue restaurant. My people were people who were pillars in that community. And so, you look for the things you were exposed to growing up. So I'm at the Y, I meet these brothers, and they invite me to the cookouts and things like that. And man, like my side, I'm not missing meals, okay? You invite me to a cookout, that means you're getting less food, okay? So that is an outsized act of generosity. And they were really some of the best people I've ever met. Like they made me feel as if this could be home. And I'm one of those people, if you're ever just kind to me and my interest, I'm always gonna look out for you, yours, right? And so I would donate money to the school. I would speak at the school one semester. I was a guest professor. Little things that I could do just to say thank you to the school. But there was a disconnect because Paul Quinn in those years was really struggling and it didn't have the best brand and the best reputation. And I kept thinking, my people are amazing. Why do people treat their school as if it's not amazing?
Right.
And, I visited, I saw the conditions. I mean, the places I went to school did not look like that. And I just thought people deserved better. So when there was a chance to be president, um, I tried to get the job and they turned me down, laughed at me. Because at that point I was 35, didn't have any experience in higher ed, and probably should have been laughed at and
Yeah.
dismissed. But
But maybe not.
my thing was it didn't occur to me that I shouldn't be a serious candidate, right? And when they were interviewing me, they're like, "Well, have you ever worked in higher education?" I was like, "No." He said, "Well, do you have a doctorate?" I was like, "I have a law degree."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What makes you think you can do this job?" I
Mhm.
was kind of like, I know what this is supposed to look like, and it doesn't look like that,
Right.
and it should look like that. And you don't need an academician.
No,
You
you don't.
need a warrior. You need
Crazy saves.
someone that is going to fight for your students and fight for your school and that can sell it. And I was like, and I can sell it. And they were like, yeah, whatever, right?
Yep.
Blew me off, hired somebody else. It didn't go as well as they would have hoped. And then I got a shot. And even when I took it, I'd only planned to be there 90 days because I was part of a group that was going to buy the Memphis Grizzlies. And I was going to be part owner and be president of the franchise, which has always been a dream,
Wow. I
right?
didn't know that.
And man, in those 90 days, I just realized, I tell people that the true story is I went to church that Sunday and my pastor, Freddie Haynes, said, we're going to preach about callings this summer. And I remember thinking, that's cool. You can preach about callings. My calling is in Memphis with the condo overlooking the Mississippi River and my black on black Range Rover.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. I'm being called in that direction. And next Sunday come back and he says, the Lord challenges you not to run from your calling. And I'm like, he's starting to get hot in these pews. Then he said something else about callings the next Sunday. And it became apparent to me that if I just opened my eyes, I would recognize the gift that I was being given.
Yep.
And that was 19 years ago next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you see that others didn't?
I didn't look at it as a school. I looked at it as an underappreciated asset, an
Mm.
underdeveloped asset. I was a corporate securities lawyer. And so I think about things differently
Mhm.
and I like to build things. And so I looked and I said, it's 140 acres, 10 minutes from downtown Dallas. That's sitting on the nexus of two major highways,
Yep.
I-20 and I-45. It's the ninth largest city in the country. It's the fourth largest, I think, metropolis. Yeah, I mean, as I started going through all the data
Checked all the
points,
boxes.
it's like, why wouldn't I be able to sell? I said, it's a growing population base. And I just started playing it through my mind. And I said, I can do something with
Yeah.
this. And then I was fortunate. So much of whether you succeed or not depends upon your infrastructure and your ecosystem. Like, do you have people around you that allow you to be who you are?
Mhm.
And my board has always allowed me to push my creativity to its limits. And that, it's allowed me to fight the fights that I think are important to
Yeah.
fight and to build an institution and help build an institution that puts forth the characteristics that I think are so incredibly important. Um, and now it allows me to be the type of father and husband that I want to be. And
That's super important.
that's a gift.
Yeah. And you talking about like selling to college, and building. I like to build things myself. If I'm not building something, I think something's wrong with me. Um, whether it's a blank canvas or a tear down and a rebuild, I just have a gift and like a vision of, like I said, how things are supposed to look and making it and bringing it to life. Um, throughout your process of, like, selling Paul Quinn and making it look cool, um, what beliefs carried you when results didn't show right away?
Oh, that's a great question. So when I started, I was angry, you know,
Mm.
because I just could not believe anything was allowed to be in the condition of a school that I inherited.
Yeah.
And it, because it almost like I almost died, right? Like, I had sudden cardiac death episode and literally had died and had to be resuscitated in part because of well, primarily because of the stress I'm
Mhm.
trying to save the school. And I, I mean, it's really, people talk about near death experiences being transformational. For me, it, it changed what my points for motivation were.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, the majority of my life, I was motivated, wasn't an angry person by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination, but I had this, what I thought was a really productive rage about the injustices and inequities of the world, right? I mean, I went to law school because I wanted to be a civil rights attorney
Mhm.
and I wanted to fight the fights that mattered to the people I cared about.
Yeah.
And that rage was, I'd drive through inner cities and see poverty. That would make me mad.
Yeah.
I would see how people were being treated. That would make me, I mean, that
Mhm.
drove me. When I had the cardiac episode, went to counseling afterwards, which I strongly recommend, like, because you survive near death episode, like, you need some help processing
Yeah.
things, right? And the counselor said, there's a cost to generating your gifts from a place of anger as opposed to a place of love. And I was sort of like, this sounds like some soft.
Yeah, love ain't gonna get this done.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And, and she explained it. And she said, I promise you, if you can let go of the anger and just start at the place of people deserve better because I genuinely care about them having better.
Mhm.
And I genuinely want you to win. I want you to succeed. She said, I just want you to see what happens.
Yeah.
She was cool about it. She said, I'm not telling you to flip your script right away. I'm saying there is a physical cost to generating your passions from anger that you won't pay if you generate it from love. And, I would kind of, all right, I'll give it a shot.
So do you think that was a sacrifice that you maybe unknowingly made throughout this process of, like, making Paul Quinn what it is today? One being, like, yourself, like, you put your health on the line to bring this vision to life.
Oh, absolutely. But, I don't think it's just me. I mean, look, to grab a common point from things that think about how many fathers we see, and even mothers, but
Mhm.
like, we'll open up the both genders that we see week in, week out, who have physically allowed themselves to go
Yeah.
in the pursuit of their children's dreams. Because there's nothing healthy about grassroots basketball. All right. There are no gyms that are
Nah.
serving, tofu. It's hot dogs. It's
Chicken
hamburger.
fingers and french fries.
It's French fry. No sweet potato fries, so you can't
Yep.
even pretend you're getting something healthy out the deal. And you sit in those gyms long enough, and you may, look, the first couple weeks you may hold firm, right?
Mhm.
But by that third or fourth week, maybe you were late getting to the grocery store. Maybe you were running behind, and it's a slippery slope. And then you look up, and you got the AAU dad or mom bod, right?
Mhm.
And it it's we convince ourselves that the sacrifices we are making are in furtherance of a greater goal,
Yeah,
and they are,
they are.
right? But what we miss is the sacrifices of time that we're making because it's costing us on the back end. And, I spend a lot of time now on these longevity books and things like
Mhm.
that. And which is really fascinating to me about how you can create a better environment for your life to live longer, right? Because look, I don't want like my dad died my senior year of college.
Mhm.
So he never he never met my wife. He never met my kids. My mother died before she got to meet them.
Mhm.
Um, I want to help raise my son and daughter's
Right.
children. I don't want to be incapacitated because I made so many physical sacrifices.
Mhm.
So I think we all do it because we tell ourselves that it's expedient.
Yeah.
And what it is generally is just maybe we need a touch more discipline in our own lives to be firmer about our time.
Yeah.
I I have made changes to allow myself to be more balanced, and it means walking a different path, right? So just as I am entrepreneurial in
Mhm.
my everyday walk, now in terms of my life, I've turned to becoming far more protective about my processes.
Yeah. No, that's important. Um, I think I'm a grinder, and I'm big on discipline too. And I think you can apply more discipline and like save the stress and buy yourself some hours of downtime to be more balanced, rather than just like grind, grind, grind all the time. I think my son kind of shine light on that. And he did it in a way that kind of hurt my feelings. But I think I needed my feelings to be hurt. Like he told me I need to be a better dad. And like, I'm grinding, doing everything I can to be the better dad I think he wants. But what he needed was for me to like not grind and take him bowling or let's go drive around the parking lot. And I think that kind of balance that I've added has definitely created a way better flow of things. I think our relationship is starting to improve more. He plays for me too.
Yeah.
So it's not coach now. It's I gained a stripe. I'm like coach dad. I'm trying to get the daddy coach. I'm trying to flip that. Um,
It's hard though,
it
man.
it is.
Like
It's a challenge.
I have so much respect for, brothers like you who were able to even go down that path. Cause I stopped coaching Mike because I realized I couldn't be fair to him,
Mhm.
right? That I was either going to be too hard on
Mhm.
him or I wasn't going to like I couldn't figure out how to do it in a way that I thought would not damage our relationship because my father and I had a damaged relationship,
Yeah.
right? I mean, my dad was 56 when I was born, and my dad wasn't a jock,
Mhm.
right? I mean, we owned a restaurant. When he was young, like he wasn't a jock, right? Like he was he was cool,
Yeah.
right? Um, and we just didn't vibe, right? I really like, he wasn't the dad that was shooting baskets in the backyard. Like my mother shot baskets with me, right? My grandfather played in the Negro leagues on my mother's side. So, he would play catch with me. My mom sometimes would play catch. My dad, he'd come to the games and stuff, but it was just different. And so I I desperately wanted to have a special relationship with my son and, he and I, like what basketball did for us, like we're in the gym every day,
Yeah.
but that's hey man, let's talk about life, Todd,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm teaching him about life through these, he would argue, completely unrealistic challenges that he's being given, right?
Oh man, he just need to wait.
Right, like just, but it is, but I've watched, you and your son, and I've watched, I mean, how you've had to balance. building a program and being his father or
Mhm.
making decisions, with
Yep.
both. And, you know, I think you have been incredibly fair to all. Like, it's interesting. I'm steadfastly against daddy ball. And the least, like, I don't even think what you've done is daddy ball, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how ironic it is. Like your son absolutely plays with you, has always played with you. And when people ask me about daddy ball or just different programs, I always recommend your program. And they're like, but doesn't his son play? I was like, man,
You wouldn't you wouldn't know.
you wouldn't even know. I was like, it's not. I was like, if anything, like, his son gets it harder, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, it's not. And that's a testament to just how you have approached it.
Mhm.
Um, but I also think I can understand where Langston would sometimes feel
Yeah.
as if like, where's my dad in this?
Where's my dad in this? And while we're on fatherhood, tell me about how fatherhood has, shaped your leadership.
Oh, uh, like first of all, fatherhood is the best thing ever,
Yep.
right? Like, I mean, it is. Like when I tell you I love being a dad, it is an extraordinary gift, and I it really has changed me. And my students at the college, I've been there now 19 years, so I was started being a president before I became a parent. And folks who were there early tell the students now they're like, "Y'all are so lucky Mike and Sage came along." Right? They're like, "Cause he is so much softer than he was, back then." Uh, but one, it's made me more patient.
Yep.
It's made me more conscientious about limiting the duplicities in my life. Uh, I tell my kids all the time, you know, I don't ever want to be a man that you or your mother have to apologize for. All
Yeah.
right. Because I've seen that, I mean, I'm older. So I grew up in an era where the really successful brothers probably weren't the best all around men,
Mhm.
like, I mean, I grew up in communities where, you know,
Something had to give.
some had to give, right? And, it caught up with them eventually.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that. And I don't want that from my students, because I'm conscious of the fact that many of them come from communities where the men that they've had in their lives are either coaches or
Mhm.
ministers. Coaches and ministers are wonderful people, but that's a different relationship.
Yeah.
And so I'm modeling fatherhood for them. I want them to see me be affectionate with Mike and with Sage,
Yeah.
me being accessible, like,
Yeah.
and carrying on foolishness, right? And laughing
Mhm.
and joking and teasing. Because, I know that in a very real way, what I'm saying to them is, it's okay,
Yep.
right? Like, it's okay not to take yourself too serious. It's okay to be serious, but don't take yourself too
Too
serious,
serious.
right?
Yeah.
But it has made me a much better college president. I think it's made me a better man. And it's it's crystallized for me what all of us are capable of.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. What are some lessons from home you carry into work?
Um, you know, priorities are a big one.
Yeah.
Just remembering what's important and also slowing down enough to make sure everyone feels valued and heard and understood. Um, I detest selfish people. I detest selfishness.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, I just we've built an institution at Paul Quinn based on these principles. We over me, right? The needs of a community
Mhm.
supersede the wants of an individual. Our 4 L's: leave places better than you found them, live a life that matters, lead from wherever you are, and love something greater than yourself. And all those things come from, how I grew up. I went to a Jesuit high school that told us to be men and women for others.
Mhm.
My mother and father modeled selfless behavior for me
Yeah.
and challenged me to, lead from authentic places. And so that is how, I tell Mike all the time, we don't lie, we don't cheat, and we don't steal.
Mhm.
Right. And selfishness is a combination of all those things.
Yeah.
And if you can't be a man of honor and character, then why should anyone follow you? Why should anyone trust you? And, just because I'm a leader doesn't mean that you become a leader by birthright. You have to earn.
You have to earn that.
I tell my daughter all the time, it's like, you're going to be a voice that millions of people heed. So what are they going to hear?
Yeah.
And those are probably outrageous things to tell kids. I mean, I've been telling my daughter that since she was 7 or 8 years old. I speak to Mike about leadership every day, but I do the same things for my students,
Yeah.
and I talk about the inevitability of their own successes. Right? If you start out thinking you can win, hoping you can win, that is different
That's different.
than believing beyond a shadow of a doubt you are going to win. Right? It like, I know I'm gonna win, right? I know
It's okay to feel that way too.
oh, absolutely.
Some people don't they don't like when you feel that way. Um,
Well, I mean, those are haters.
those are
Right now, I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, those are haters, non-believers.
think about how many people were dismissive of the program that you all were building, right? You had a vision.
Yeah.
Listen, I remember when talking to you guys about it, when I think the boys were in fifth or sixth grade, and I remember being like, I couldn't make it work for us because of where we went to school. And, Mike had 2, 3 hours of homework back then.
Yeah.
I just, I couldn't,
Yeah, balance.
yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't get it to work. And it's, but I never questioned whether you all were going to be successful, right? I didn't know what the end game was. I didn't know like what the aspirations were, but I was sort of like, the methodology is a methodology that is employed in business and everything else, right? There's a consistency, there is a vision, there is a pursuit of that vision. I was like, and then there's a willingness to pivot because you have to have a willingness to pivot.
Have to.
I mean, I thought we'd build, I thought we'd make Paul Quinn a real estate empire, right? Remember, we had land, and so we made it a different kind of empire,
Yep.
right? But I think people miss that because they get wedded to their own ideas of success
Yeah.
and are threatened by others' success, and especially if it's an unconventional or non-conventional path.
Mhm.
I mean, think about it, like it's lots of people have theories about how this stuff works, but the ability to evolve gives you the greatest chance of sustaining success. I fundamentally believe that.
Speaking of evolving, like one thing I'm very prideful on with my program is I will never let any of my kids or my parents outgrow me or outgrow the program. Like, and I tell them that, like, y'all ain't going nowhere because I'm gonna give you a reason not to. Like,
Yeah,
you're not gonna outgrow what this is, what we're building together. And in hindsight, I think they value that. I think they hear it. And that I think there's some times throughout their journey where they actually experience like this is for real. Um, and like, it comes with like some pressure. Leading those families all these years. We haven't had one argument. Um, no major blow ups. There's a little bit of drama. But not a whole lot. Tell me about uh what did pressure reveal about your leadership?
so the early stages of my career, success was built on my ability to manage crises.
Mm.
Like, I worked with an international consulting firm And I was sent to be part of teams and manage complex, many times multinational crises.
And this is before Paul Quinn.
No, this is before. So my career, I started out as a corporate securities lawyer.
Mhm.
I had a big firm here in Texas. I did that for about 3 years. Then I went to work in the White House under Bill Clinton, and I did that probably 18 months until he was going
I
into.
didn't see that in your file.
Yeah, no. I got an eclectic file.
Okay, I didn't see that there.
Right. Then I came back to Dallas, worked with a small boutique law firm that really represented a lot of the business interests of wealthy Texas families.
Okay.
One of the families was the Perot family, so we helped orchestrate the construction of the American Airlines Center and running the Mavericks, which was a lot of fun. I was The partners there also were heavily involved in Dallas 2012, which was the Olympic bid movement team, and I was part of that. I was in charge of government relations and communications. And then Donnie Nelson and I built something called the Global Games, which was the precursor to the Nike Euro Summit. I was in charge of logistics and also constructed the American team, which was an enormous amount of fun, right?
I bet.
Which then put me in a really unique space in that I became someone that lots of families came to for advice about college selection process.
Mhm.
And, haters would say, well, you were a street agent. I was like, wasn't a street agent because I was up front with family. There are things you need to know. Number one, you cannot pay me. I will not accept one dime from you
Mhm.
to help you make these selections. Two, I'm going to try and steer you to the best academic institution that
First.
presents a quality basketball experience. I was like, so you just need to know that going, and that's cool with you.
Yeah.
I can be helpful to you. That grew into being someone who, when I stopped doing that, I ran marketing for some agents, right? So I would construct marketing plans for kids that were going into the draft. So Darren Williams was one of our clients. Chris Bosh was an early client. Um, Gracie Wright, others like
Yeah, I
that.
remember those guys.
Yeah. And then I left I started running my own business and ran political campaigns and did crisis management work for entities still. And then was the outsourced COO, I would call it, of a real estate development firm in North Carolina that led me to helping run the bid for purchasing the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
So that's what I did
Yeah.
before I got to Paul Quinn. And it's I loved it. It was a really interesting
Yeah,
career.
it sounds cool.
And then, the other piece of it is people have always typically expected me to have a political future. Right? And I did. I turned down the offer from the Democratic Party to run for governor, probably about, I guess that was 2018. And that was just, it goes back to the father stuff. I could not figure out how I could ever be the father I wanted to be and run for governor. And then, maybe I lose, maybe you catch a break and you win.
Mhm.
If you win, if you are governor of Texas, you automatically become a viable candidate to be president, right? And, because Texas is a huge state.
Yeah.
And momentum is momentum. But, and I did, candidly, I really, we talked about this before we got on camera, it can't be about your will, it has to be the Lord's will.
Mhm.
And I struggled hoping that the tea leaves would point to running for governor.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I was like, I will never get to be the father I want to be if I go do this. And that was more important to me.
Nah, and I think that says a lot. It's easy to get wrapped up in the pursuit of, especially when you're quote unquote angry and you're fueled to be put in a position where you can really make an impact and make a difference, and use those gifts to, you know, change lives in generations. Um, like I admire that about you. I think that's like one of the reasons why we've always kind of like been drawn together from a distance. Just kinda like that fatherhood frequency and energy level, I think has always been there for us. And just watching you and Mike from afar, I think I still remember Mike in a Southern Assault uniform. Just I saw it, like I saw it in them early. And I think you ultimately probably would agree that you made the right decisions by choosing fatherhood, and I don't think you ever lose when you do.
No,
You never lose.
man, like it's such a gift, right? Like it to this day. I mean, we were driving back from his physical therapy appointment this morning, and my wife called as we were on the way to school, and we're just in the car acting up,
Yeah.
right? Like she calls up, and he and I are in peak silly mode, right? And she's just like, "What are the two of you doing?"
What y'all doing?
And it's just, and he goes off to college in 3 years, and
Man.
like 3.5 years, and I'm overwhelmed by it now, right? Um, but it's what I take great joy in. And look, Mike wasn't a kid that was gonna overwhelm you with physical gifts early,
Yep.
right? Like he wasn't small, but he definitely wasn't a big, like he's got
Yeah.
smaller frame that back then. And he just, I mean, I remember looking, I was like, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get bigger, but I don't know when that happens. And like the best I can do for you is to make sure you have a peerless work ethic and you have a skill and a skill set that will
Yeah.
translate.
You gave him everything he needed for when the win happens.
Yeah. And that
Um,
was the goal. Thank you.
I think a lot of us, not a lot, it's common to see people wait for win than to get what they need instead of head down, let me work on what I'm gonna need for when win happens. Because if you're 5'6" and you don't have a 6'5" mentality, when you're 6'5", what's gonna happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, transitioning, I know we talked about, your students, how hands-on you are with them. How did you build trust with them, the staff and the community?
Um, I build trust with people by being unapologetically honest,
Yeah.
right, and authentic. So if I mess up, oh, I'm not going to pretend like I didn't mess up.
Mm.
I will stand before you and acknowledge I got this wrong. Let me go fix it. And I think that's important because so many times we think the acknowledgement of our missteps makes us weak.
Mhm.
It actually makes us
Makes
stronger,
us stronger.
right? Because it says to people, I can trust you. Um, and I don't ever pretend that I was always this version of myself.
Mhm.
Like I wasn't, you know, um, you know, like
Yeah.
y'all got our stories, right?
Yeah, we all do.
I mean, I tell my students all the time, I was not always a college president, right? Like, so, the reason why I could tell you these things is because I have lived, all right?
Yeah.
Um, and and then showing up, right?
Yeah.
Like something that I do that comes from an authentic place is I'm really cool coming to you on your turf, right? Like we don't
That's how
have
we
to
in the
meet
office
in
all
your
the time.
turf.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, with my students, I used to, before we had the kids got bigger and the demands got different. I used to go out on the road and recruit students.
Mhm.
And I'd go into their high schools, I'd walk their neighborhoods, I'd eat in their homes, and just be like, yo,
Yeah.
it's all good, right? And, they weren't always in the best of places, but I was like, are you comfortable walking these streets every day?
Mhm.
So then how can I purport to be somebody that's going to care for you if I can't understand what it's like to do these
Man.
things, right?
Yeah.
So I'll walk these streets, with you. And I think that has helped. And then I don't, it's gotten harder and 19 years because of all the students. But like, I try to always answer their calls, right? So as life goes on, and they call and people need things. Sometimes they just need a voice.
Yeah. They just need you to pick up.
Sometimes sometimes I gotta go get people out of jail, right? Like, I mean, sometimes, but if you are mine, whether I talk to you every day, every other year, once a decade, if you call me and you need me, I am going to respond. And I think that has meant something. And also understanding that, every rose doesn't bloom on the first day of spring.
No, it does not.
So you gotta give it time.
No, it does not. Some doors are time sensitive. Um, some grow without sun and water. You know what I mean?
Someone's coming out that concrete.
Yeah. Nah, for sure. How do you handle failure publicly and privately? I know you just touched based on, when you get things wrong, you're not afraid to, admit to that. And getting things wrong doesn't mean that you fail.
Yeah.
But we're human, and like you're president of a whole university. Like there's some failures that come along with that. How do you handle that?
The first 4 or 5 years, first 4 years of me being president were brutally hard.
Yeah.
And when I arrived at Paul Quinn, we had 550 students. Within 18 months, we were down to 150 students. We were put on probation. All things I wasn't necessarily aware of when I took the job or headed in these spaces. And everything just felt as if it was broken. And, the morning news would write these stories about us and, sort of like, you all are not going to succeed. I mean, Boston Consulting Group, one of the world's great management consulting firms, said you all have 18 months before you're going to close. And I remember after one particularly brutal news cycle, being at the downtown Y on the treadmill, just trying to clear my head. And somebody comes up to me and it's like, oh, y'all are not going to make it. Like, this is, he's going into, and first of all, let me just say for everybody out there, when people on the treadmill,
Leave them alone.
leave them alone, right? Like, the treadmill is a gut-wrenching experience as it is. That is not, if people are on the bike, they probably are like, okay, I can talk.
Yeah, the treadmill.
You just got to give them the nod and let them ride, right? And so, I'd be in the grocery store just trying to buy some cereal, and people would come up to me like, oh, looks like the school's going to close. What are you going to do? And I'm not saying people had a joy, but there are people who derive a certain satisfaction out of others' failures,
For sure.
right? And I mean, so here's the thing. I don't think you can pursue anything of significance and not have the courage to fail. Because if you're really trying to do something great, great things don't happen from places of comfort.
No, they do not.
They never will. And I tell people this regularly. Your life will depend on your relationship with fear. If you are able to conquer fear, and really it's the fear of failure, then you can achieve anything. And for me, I am I am a Hall of Fame level failure, right? Like the things that I have failed at are generally bigger than most people would try. And they're public things. And what I have come to understand is it is only failure if you stop moving.
If you stop moving, yeah.
Like when I fail forward.
Fail forward.
And I just keep going. And I just, I don't ever believe when the clock strikes 0 that I will lose.
No,
So as long as there's still time on that clock,
you have a chance to win.
got a chance to win.
I think some of the greatest things I've accomplished in my life has been motivated by failure. It's like I've learned to befriend it almost. Like, it's a possibility, like, no matter what, but you also have a decision to make. Is that going to, startle you? Is that gonna make you second guess? Or it's one of those things where you put on your thinking cap and you get very creative. Um, I know sometimes you might see I put on the story like all the building emojis, like that's fear of what's gonna happen if I don't start building. Not fear of losing or fear of like failure, but if I don't do X, Y, and Z, like I fear that this is gonna happen. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z to make sure that it doesn't happen. Um,
Man, it's just so important to understand that the only real way to fail is to stop,
yeah.
right? I mean, like, just to give up or give in,
Mhm,
and it's just, I mean, look, I mean, I thought Paul Quinn, I could transform it doing one way. That failed. So it was like, gotta go back to the lab,
gotta go back to the lab.
I mean, I mean, just every step along the way, the things that you come up short, you just have to find another way. There's a great Satchel Paige poem that talks about that. It says, don't pray when it rains. Don't pray when the sun shines if you don't pray when it rains. Let's say that backwards. Don't pray when it rains if you don't pray when the sun shines. And it talks about never hang your head and give up, find another way, right?
Mhm,
And like that's the thing, like find another way. I mean, we talked about it before in the air, just with the different shoe circuits and things like that. That we both, our kids started out on the EYBL side of the
mhm.
right? It's cool, it works for a lot of people. But as you move forward, you have to be open to like the different possibilities
Yeah.
and who sees you for who you can be.
How does one go about finding another way? Um, I feel like there's a lot of if we're just talking about like in the basketball space, but I'm sure it's synonymous to business and entrepreneurship and marketing and all those things. I feel like there's a lot of miseducation. I think sometimes I know in this space particularly there's a lot of blind leading the blind. How do you go about leading people who don't see the vision yet?
Oh, and very few people see the vision that I see.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, when I took the job at Paul Quinn, everyone told me I was crazy except for two people. Right.
Yeah.
One of them was one of my boys who was like, "You can't make it worse." Right. So that was
Hey,
his endorsement.
yeah.
Okay. The other was the woman I was dating, who's now my wife. Right. And,
Okay.
we were in that phase where she was kind of like, "You can do anything, baby." Right. Like, it was, so she was like, "I am team us." Okay. Uh, it's what what I understand is I am willing to outwork you.
Mm, I
And
like
I'm not
that.
going to tell you I'm going to outwork you.
Nope.
I'm not going to broadcast that I'm outworking you because I work in the shadows. I work in the dark and I'm comfortable in the dark, right? Where others need light, I'm good. Like, look, half the time when Mike and I are in the gym, I don't even turn on the lights, right? Like,
You're a dangerous man.
it is, and I don't tell you I'm coming. All I tell you is I'm just warming up. I'm just right.
Just
Warming
warming
it
up.
is that you see right now. I'm just warming up. And
Yeah.
it is because, people I just don't understand people who feel the need to
It's
broadcast.
social media. Yeah, everybody wants to be seen, be validated, be heard, and like that's it's great. And I think that machine will trick you every time. If you're making the deposits that you need to make and you're doing what you need to do and you're putting that time in, you don't really have time tell anyone that you're working. Um, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Some like to operate in the bright lights. Some like to operate in the shadows, but I really do believe like those that operate in the shadows, like they have it's like a upper hand. A nostalgia, like you're putting in work. Nobody knows, but I know exactly what this person is doing, but they don't know what I'm doing. I just know that my head's down. I'm working, whether it's 5 a.m. over here or 5 p.m. there, or pregame shoot around, or we didn't shoot the ball well and we're gonna shoot after the game. We shot the ball well. We're gonna shoot after the game. Um, all those deposits I think matter. Um, which is why we're here. And I tell my guests it's like a bank. Um, I can't go withdraw $3,500 out of my account if I haven't put $3,600 in there. And if you have a debit transaction, you're going to be in the red. And if you don't pay that back, they're going to close that account. So like, what kind of deposits are you making? And how you're making them, I think is the difference between the interest that is gained on them.
Yeah, it's the other thing I would tell you is so many people are consumed with themselves,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean, every one of the things I learned early in life, there is great power in being cheerleader for others because all people ever really want to do is be cheerleaders for themselves.
Yeah.
And if you celebrate them and really all they want to do is be celebrated anyway,
Yeah.
well, now if you want to have a Machiavellian approach to it,
Mm-hmm.
you have exposed those individuals' weak link.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I look at it a little bit differently. I'm like, you know what? What I learned a long, long time ago is the person who champions others is still a champion,
Still a champion.
right? You don't have to you don't have to tell people, I did this for you. My thing is, I want to create an infrastructure that lifts other people up. And that and that should set an example for others to behave in a more selfless fashion.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the line, it's karma. It's really has a karmic resonance to it. It's just my father and father raised me to be a gentleman, carry bags for women, help old ladies, help people when you can. So when I'm on a plane, if I see women struggling or even starting to put their bags in the overhead storage units, I get up out of my seat and I help,
Mm-hmm.
whether I know them or not. But especially when I see a mother with her children.
Yeah.
And, part of it is I couldn't always be there to travel with my wife and my kids. So I would like to believe that if someone saw my wife struggling with the kids, that they helped her.
It will.
But even if they didn't, it still does not take away from the fact that it's the right thing
It's the
to
right thing to
do
do.
to help people in need.
Yeah.
And I watch, my kids when we're driving and we're at a stoplight and we see people who are begging on the street. They insist that we help them,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're like, we have extra food in the car. We'll donate money. During holidays, we go find people and donate food to them, right? Like bring them food.
Uh-huh.
And we don't make a big deal out of it. We don't go to shelters and things like that. There is a value in meeting people where they are,
Yeah.
and I'd much rather be someone who meets people where they are than having to have the perfect conditions to do good things.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you have a giver's heart. And I think sometimes that could be taken advantage of. And it might come with some bandages.
Yeah.
But the giver's heart, I think it lasts the longest.
I mean, first of all of us are gonna take some L's in life,
Yeah, we are.
right? Even if you aren't a giver, you're gonna take some L's.
Mhm.
So the question becomes, if we're gonna take some L's, why not take L's being the best version of yourself
Yep.
than being something else?
Mm.
I just, man, life is short. I'm not gonna spend my time in the land of bitterness.
Mhm.
Like I'm, I think one of the things I think this is especially true in the grassroots basketball space because so many people are operating from angles,
Mhm.
right? Like, got everybody's kind of got something. And I'm like, genuinely, I'm the guy. I celebrate everybody's success.
Yeah.
Like, JoJo gets offers. I'm man,
Yeah, everybody.
I'm
Yep.
hyped for everybody's kids to get what they dream of.
Yeah,
I don't think your success takes away from mine.
it
I want
doesn't.
everybody to win.
Yeah, and it goes back to that buffet analogy that we spoke about, and I like seeing other people win. You don't have to be on my team for me to be happy that you win. Um, I think the more other people win, the better for me because it just shows me what's possible. And like just the possibility of like that drives me. And I think when, like I said, karma, like when you're not happy or you don't, see in between the lines of like how this person accomplished this goal, like you lose some drive that you're gonna need eventually to power your own.
That's right.
Um, which is why you gotta clap for people. Got to. Um, Grassroots space, I like your kicks.
No, thank you.
I saw recently that you guys were in the mix with, Kyrie Irving. And it makes sense now, knowing the backstory. Um, Amazing deal what you did for, your basketball program at Paul Quinn. Um, Tell me about like what role do you think sports play in shaping young people?
No, I think sports are at a crossroads.
Mhm.
I grew up playing sports because I was competitive. I liked it.
Yeah.
It brought me joy. It ate up like baseball was my first sport.
Mhm.
And part of the reason why I became really good at baseball was because I could stand in the backyard with my glove, my rubber ball, and for hours on end, throw the ball against the wall. I have pitched more games in my head than, anyone could possibly imagine. But I also grew up in Chicago, and in the inner cities, especially in the northern ones, there was this game called Strikeout.
Mm.
And every schoolyard you would pass, you would see a box with an X marked through it.
Okay.
And you had to get the ball in that box. And if the guy didn't hit it, it was a strike. So that's hence strikeout,
Strikeout.
right? Well, my mother wasn't letting me mark up the backyard that way.
Yeah.
So I, would have some tape and I would just throw hours on end, hours on end. One of the ways I became such a good shooter was because they put a basket in the backyard and I could go out there by myself. I didn't have any brothers, right? I had a younger sister and she was not about the athletes like
Yeah.
that. And I would just shoot hours on end. I'd shovel snow, go out and shoot. And so it taught me about competing. It taught me about perseverance. I was a really, really good baseball player. I got much better, at basketball as I got older and grew. Um, but now I look at it and the professionalization of the game at such young ages. And a lot of that byproduct of social media,
Yeah.
but it's also just the money in the game now, right? I mean, nobody I used to think about NIL when we were in school.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people this all the time. everybody got a little something extra. Yeah, every college you went to, if you were good, you probably got a little something extra. Whatever it was. Sometimes there
Whatever it
were people
was.
out there got paid. Sometimes it
Mhm.
was meals, you know what I mean? But you
Yeah.
got a little something extra. That's different than what we're seeing now. Now, you have to look even the most like value pure value oriented people, the sums of money that are involved, you now have to at least acknowledge it for what it can do for your child. Even if someone had said to us, you can go to college and I'm going to give you a scholarship, but then I'm also going to give you $50,000 on a college campus.
Not a college kid.
If you're going to give me
Yeah.
$50,000, my meals are paid for, my housing is paid for. I, I, I just have
Tax-free $50,000.
50K. Probably would have passed out.
Probably would have passed her.
Right. So you graduate from college, 200 grand. You know, well, this probably closer to 125.
Yeah, you right.
Because you go that first year,
Yeah, you gonna see what that 50
you,
they can
you're
do.
gonna take it for a spin. Right. So but the now we'll just use players in your group, in the Hurricane A group. Come on, man. Your guards, if somebody shows up with 50K for them, they're going to think they're being dramatically underpaid at the college level.
Yeah.
And you know what? They will be, right? They're that good.
Mhm.
Give credit where credit's due. They still got a scholarship.
They still got a scholarship.
Room and board is still covered.
Yeah.
So they're going to finish school with a significant nest egg that if they manage it, let's just say they get a B in the management
Mhm.
of it.
Still in great shape compared to where we were 22, 23 when we graduated.
So this thing has changed. So, but I don't know if that's for the better. I don't know if robbing our children of the joys of their childhood and telling ourselves we're redefining what the joys of childhood happen to be.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's better. I like to tell myself the discipline that we've instilled in Mike in terms of his regiment is good.
Yeah.
And yes, there will be great value to it, but it also has come at a certain expense, right? There are choices that had to be made. And, you know, I get it. I mean, like 9 years old, he sat me down. He said, "These are my goals." Right. And I was kind of like, "But yo, bro, if those are your goals, those are not the standard 9-year-old goals. You know,
Mhm.
life is going to look different." But it's, I still think sports are amazing. I'm deeply concerned about the caliber of coaching that kids receive. Um, but I don't necessarily think I had great coaches in every team I've been on growing up. Many of them were just fathers who cared.
The father, yeah.
Right? And I appreciated that.
And we didn't even know that.
Yeah, didn't know that,
Yeah.
right? And I don't ever remember being in a car ride home and my mother or father saying, that Little League baseball coach, I question his qualifications and I don't think they're any good. Or my basketball coaches. I was really appreciative of having people take the time to just pour into
For
it.
sure.
And so I think we've lost some of that. I think there are folks out there who are doing it well. They do it differently. But I think sports are a tremendous gift. I'm glad, both my kids, my daughter plays volleyball and fences.
Mhm.
So she's got her own
Our own
spot.
thing.
Uh, and the lessons that both of them take from it are invaluable. But I would not be a thoughtful parent if I didn't carefully critique the things that
For
I
sure.
see but also the role I play in this process.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, would it have been nice to delay some of the stuff? But yeah, but how long are you going to delay? Because the shots you aren't shooting, you can't get back.
Yep.
I explained this to my wife one time. I said, honey, the kid who picks up a basketball in seventh grade and decides they really want to be a shooter probably will never catch up with the shots that Mike has already taken by the time we get to seventh grade.
This is true.
So, you into your point, you are doing a calculation based on, for when,
Mhm.
not if, but
Yeah.
for when.
Yeah, you're talking about like pouring into your students, and, like your passion for athletics. How did the Kyrie and Antidil come about for the athletic program?
That is crazy. It was from being kind
Yeah.
to someone else that had no relationship to without any idea this could ever happen.
Uh-huh.
There was a woman, and you may know her. She used to be Poison Ivy, used to be the DJ for the Mavs.
Okay.
Right? So Ivy daughter was at Hockaday with my daughter.
Okay.
And I'm one of these people, if you are ever trying to do anything positive, I will always help. I will answer your questions on it. So Ivy and I talk periodically, right? Just, she'd ask me questions about, parenting. Her brother, she asked me to have him come intern with me one summer. I wrote his college recommendations, just
Mhm.
looking out for people. So she calls me up one day and she says, hey, look, I want to introduce you to someone. It's one of Kyrie Irving's people, Irv Rowland. She said, and I don't know where it goes, but I know that they say, Kyrie really wants to, and this is when he first got to town, really wants to be engaged. And, he talks to Irving, I talked, and so, send me some stuff. Maybe Kyrie can sponsor the team. So we sent it and didn't hear from him for like a year or so.
Mm.
And then one day we got a call saying, call these guys. Kyrie is really interested in sponsoring you all.
Mhm.
And I was sort of like, okay, I thought,
Yeah, you didn't hear nothing?
it
It's
just wasn't
yeah.
gonna happen. And I spoke to his guy Brett, who's been amazing, and said, send us, proposal, sent the proposal, and it is extraordinary to see what that has meant to not just our athletes, but to our community.
Yeah, that was my next question.
And it is, number one, to have people say, we see you, right? Like, we see you, and our brand thinks your brand has real value.
Yep.
Now, if you come from, 75% of our students are from Pell Grant backgrounds,
Mhm.
which means they come from the lowest socioeconomic strata. They are people that historically the institutions of this country have not worked well for.
Mhm.
So to have one of the biggest stars in the world, Hall of Famer, look at you and say, I'm with you. I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, means the world to them. I mean, our students were so excited. When those boxes arrived and we went down to the shelves, yeah, and we opened them up, one of our players, I'm not gonna call his name because it will embarrass him, was squealing with joy, right? Just,
Yeah.
I mean, like,
It's
ooh,
it's Kyrie.
and they put the shoes on and they were, and the uniforms and the sweats and the coaches are excited. I mean,
Yeah.
both teams were ecstatic.
New swagger, new energy.
New energy, and the women lost in the national championship
Yeah.
game. And but they got to the national championship game. and the men will be fine, it's a rebuilding year,
Mhm.
but it's yeah, I wish more athletes understood the power of engaging in spaces that everyone doesn't go to.
Mm.
Yeah, I tell donors sometimes, like, if you give SMU $5 million, maybe you get, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been facilities, like, you get a really nice thank you, right? You give us $5 million, man, I'm naming stuff after you, right? Like, the
Yep.
legacy is going to look differently because the investment is
Yeah.
different. And so it's the same thing here. And and the cool part about Kyrie's folks is they like you can talk to them. You know,
Accessible.
yeah. I mean, I was texting with them this morning, and I sent them a video of Mike wearing the new shoes. Just doing. Man, like we do these really out of the box juggling drills and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Just because as he grew, I was really worried about his coordination.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of hand-eye stuff. And like that just, hey,
We ripping.
we, just wanted you guys to see, the young fella really likes the shoes. And when they redid the court around the corner from the college, and Highland Hills neighborhood is a neighborhood that exists in spite of a lack of investment
Mhm.
from a lack of of transformational investment.
Yeah.
And to redo that court and to do it in a way which is sort of a surprise. We're sort of like, yeah, we're not telling you what we do. Like, look, come
Yeah,
through.
they went in the shadows on you.
They win the shadows, right? Like, and to see how happy the neighborhood was. And people always ask me, "Oh, isn't that a dangerous neighborhood?" And if you look at the basic crime stats, maybe,
Yeah.
but it's never been dangerous for us
That's home.
because we love on it,
Mhm.
right? Like you know, Mike and I do Meals on Wheels on breaks, right? Delivering meals to folks. We we create summer programs on the campus for the community. We have two high schools on the
On
campus,
campus.
right? So all of these things are designed to say to people who may never enroll in Paul Quinn. And really, that's not the point.
Mhm.
Like, if we're only going to be good to the people who might pay us, then we are a pitiful excuse for people,
Yeah.
right? This is about saying we are here in this community. We stand shoulder to shoulder with this community, and we're going to advocate just as hard for you as we do for the students who enroll here. And Kyrie is a cool dude,
Mhm.
man. I like, I like, I mean, he has this extraordinary energy, but I also like the fact that he's willing to question things. And,
Yeah.
you know, when the boys were younger, his Nike shoes were enormously popular,
Mhm.
right? These shoes are
I think
enormous.
they're just as popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and they're cool. Like, I look at these. I mean, I brought them home to Mike, and he was kind of like, Dad,
Let me get those.
these are hot.
Yeah, no, the other nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a bad model, a bad design. I can tell that he has a lot to do with the process. His energy, his out of the box thinking, um, his swagger. Uh, size 12.
I got you.
Size 12.
I got you.
Do you think that partnership comes with a certain level of responsibility? Like, how do you manage like that visibility?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to behave in a way that never does anything other than bring joy
Mhm.
and respect to the brand. I mean, we don't have the luxury of not being the truest, best version of
Right.
ourselves. Now, I think it means we should win national championships, but I thought we should win national championships regardless anyway.
Yeah.
Right? But there's also something to be said about partnering with people whose story is similar to yours. So, if you remember what happened with Kyrie and some of the other stops, some of the heat um, he took some heat because he spoke his mind, and
Yep.
people weren't willing to actually stop and listen to what it is he was saying. Groupthink without critical analysis is just cultish behavior.
Mhm.
And, I think for our students, in the history of the AME Church, right, the African Methodist Episcopal Church was born out of rebellion. The Methodist congregation that was at the church that they were using forced them up off their knees when they were praying. The AME Church had to sue in federal court over 200 years ago for the right to exist.
Mm.
So the ability to be independent is valued
Yeah.
by the church, by the college, and by Kyrie. So, yeah, we think we have an increased responsibility, and we're honored to try and live up to that.
Yeah. Think a great way for us to close um, is with this question here. What deposits are you making today that will stand years from now?
I think I'm making 3 different sets of deposits.
Okay.
I'm making a deposit as a husband, right, that will hopefully, you know, stand for the remainder of my life,
Yeah.
with my wife, and sets an example for my son for how he should be a husband, and to my daughter about the kind of husband she should want. I'm making a deposit with my children about what it means to be a fully present parent. It means slowing down, listening, being willing to evolve your thoughts, because no two children are the same.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and there's no telling what kind of child you're going to get, because you don't know which part of your DNA gets emphasized in them.
Yeah, that's true.
And the DNA of your partner,
Mm-hmm.
they may have had some stuff that they managed to,
How did that sneak in here?
yeah, right. Like, oh, that was me at 15,
Yeah.
right? Like, but I want them to understand what it truly means to have someone love you fully and unconditionally, and accept you, but still have a need to raise you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think the third deposits are the deposits that I'm making at Paul Quinn and in the community, which is to create an institution that all communities can be proud of, but especially the Black and brown communities who have been told time and time again that they don't have the ability to excel,
Mm-hmm.
and they certainly can't excel without solely on the talents of themselves.
Right.
Right. I think there's an enormous amount of talent in our communities that has been undervalued and underdeveloped, and we want to do that. And I want my students to go forward and multiply the beliefs of selflessness, of collective actions and collective responsibility, and lives of financial independence, because so many people struggle. And struggle was never meant to be a permanent state. It's a transitional. We struggle through something on the pathway to something grand. I hope we set that example. I hope these are the pathways. I mean, if I really live up to the promise of my job, then we have planted the seed which ends poverty and provides hope for the communities that I love the most.
I love it. Well, Prez, I appreciate you joining me today. I've learned a lot.
The opportunity.
My admiration and respect is, through the roof, if it wasn't already.
Oh, you're very kind.
Yeah, man, I hope I'm making you proud.
No, brother, listen,
I appreciate you. I really do.
appreciate you.
Yeah.